And, hi everyone. I'm Dr. Krishna Vamsi, a house surgeon, and I'm from Team Superdocs. And today we have with us Dr. Supriya Chauhan. Ma'am, so please introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself to the viewers.
Yeah. Yes. Hi, friends. I'm Dr. Supriya Chauhan, senior resident in neurosurgery at JIPMER. I had done my undergraduation at JIPMER, MS General Surgery from PGI Chandigarh, and now I'm back to JIPMER as a neurosurgery resident.
Wow, that's a pretty good resume, ma'am. That's a pretty impressive resume. So, where are you from originally? Like, how before you it was not NEET exam, right? So, what was your entrance exam into uh, JIPMA and then PGI? Tell us about your experiences, what you did.
I went, yes, I had done my first plus one and plus two in Hyderabad. So
Oh.
that time for me, Central Institute was something like I really want to get into. So after I got into JIPMA, then again it was again I wanted to be in a Central Institute. So I wrote only the Central Institute exams, the entrance exams. So it was always like JIPMA, then PGI, and then again I'm JIPMA.
Back to JIPMA. You went back to your
Yeah,
roots. JIPMA must
yeah.
have missed you a lot. So, what was your studying pattern like? So, you went into JIPMA after plus one, plus two, you went into JIPMA, one of the best institutes in the country. Were you like a nerd, or were you like all the other nerds with big glasses? You don't seem like that type, but so what were you
Definitely.
like?
I was always an average student, like who enjoyed everything in life, but I had very big dreams.
Hmm.
So I was like, I knew how to balance my life well.
Hmm. So, so partying type and also a studying type. That's like a deadly
Yeah,
combination.
both, both. Yes, yes.
So, and how would your friends describe you in college? Like, were you sporty? I
Mm,
know you're a yoga enthusiast. I know you love yoga. So, is
yeah,
that what you did in your free time to give yourself
yeah. I always,
relief?
yeah, yeah. I think it was my first year MBBS. I started practicing yoga. Since then, I've been doing yoga. But my friends describe me as like I'm a mysterious kind of girl because I never told what I really wanted because I always felt like you had to work silently rather than telling
Mhm,
everybody like what you really want and what you are preparing for. So they used
mhm.
to always call me a mysterious girl.
Wow, that sounds pretty good actually. Always be silent, let your actions do the work, like speak for itself. That's good. So, and well, what about your subjects in JIPMER? Like you went into your first year, was anatomy hard for you as well? For me, it was like I couldn't identify anything. It was super hard cutting into the cadaver. What was your experience with your first year, second year?
For me, first year, every subject was very difficult for me. Coming from a very humble origin, not having what do you call affording, not able to afford the high class education pre med school. Like this is what I'm talking.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
when you come to a Central Institute, then I was like so what do you call disoriented. But then that did not bothered me much. I did not shy away from borrowing textbooks or study materials from my seniors or my friends, and that I mean the financial constraint never bogged me down. you know so that zeal of learning was always there in me. In spite of being an average student, I knew what I wanted in my life. It was
Hello? Hello? Sorry, ma'am. The power cut.
and
Hello?
they were yeah. So but there were people who told me that surgery is not a branch for women. And till now, whichever interview I appear, people keep asking me the same question, like whether I took up surgery either by choice or by chance. So all this really hurt me a lot. But then at the same time, all this this provided me more reasons to prove them wrong and to pursue and fulfill my dreams. So
Hmm.
I feel to study or to crack any competitive exam, you had to study really smart, and that zeal to study very hard and fulfill your dreams should be more than enough to do anything, like to crack any competitive exams. This is what
Yeah.
I feel.
Hmm. Wow. So, what was your hardest subject? Like you were saying, general surgery. You didn't let anybody stop you, but like, what was
Yes.
your? What did it come to you like easily? Like how you can like give like cutting up butter with a butter knife or whatever, that kind of thing. Was it easy for you? Did you get
For
it
me,
easily?
like subjects like biochem, pharmacology, gynecology, these were the hardest subjects. You must be very surprised that
Oh,
why I'm finding these subjects is very hard. But then I found these subjects are very hard. But the reason I'll tell you why I found it very hard is my concepts of the my concepts were not clear in these subjects. That is was the main reason I found it very difficult. I always like pediatrics and medicine. So when I liked something, then I used to read more about it. So then
oh,
ultimately again I started developing more interest in pediatrics and medicine. And I never read biochem and pharmacology. I never liked it. So I always found it very harder. So, but then over a period of time, I felt like, when you start reading, when you find a particular subject very difficult, and when you start referring that, if you find a one particular subject difficult and you will start referring to other textbooks as well, then you slowly somehow, just start developing interest in that subject, and you'll make it easier for you. This is what I felt.
mm-hmm. Wow. So, and what was that was your and your easy subjects? What pediatrics and
My easy
so why didn't you go
subjects
into
were
pediatrics?
pediatrics. Yes, pediatrics, because yeah, my easy subjects were pediatrics because always, I loved reading pediatrics right from my, I think, second year, third year or so. And the more I read the pediatrics, I started developing more interest in it. And I liked subjects like forensic, because I could just
Oh
read like
yeah,
as a, you know,
it's like a
so
story.
forensic.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So forensic, ENT, opthal, and preventive and social medicine as well. Because those subjects were very easy and lighter on your, lighter on your this thing. You don't have to think so much about it. So those
Mm-hmm.
things I just like, as read as a story. So I always like those subjects.
Mm-hmm. Wow. For me, it was like for me, I loved forensic medicine and social preventive medicine, but
Yes.
for me, like subjects like what do you say, pharmacology, and then it was let's see, general medicine was a little bit hard for me. General surgery, I don't know. I'm guessing I'm just an average student. I'm in my intern year, but little looking back, it seems like okay, it's fine. So even
Yeah.
very good, very top doctors had problems with it. That's fun. So okay, and uh, so for looking back personally for me, I probably like the hard subjects that I just mentioned. I probably mugged it up. I mugged it up and I like went to the exam. It's just we have to write about it, right? So it's like we're not actually thinking outside the box, thinking
Yes.
outside the box and to putting it into patient's view because we're also Corona batch. Like we passed out during COVID, so it was all about online learning for us, but now I'm preparing for the USMLE. So now I have to go back to the basics, think out there outside the box. What would you say to new students like to not make the same mistakes as me in virtual learning? What can they do to better themselves? Like how to think outside the box, something like that. Would you
Uh,
give any advice?
Yes, yes. See, rote learning is never beneficial, it
Mm-hmm.
might help you to remember things for a shorter period of time, but for a longer time, you can't remember. Once you have mugged up something, you won't be able to remember after like a period of time, after 6 months or so, you won't be able to remember that. So always
Yeah.
clear up your concept as well. And you start your
Mm-hmm.
preparations like once you know that you had to appear for any competitive exam, then you start your preparations very early. You calculate
Mm-hmm.
how much time you have for your exams. That is most important, and starting your preparation early also will help you a lot. And make a
Mm-hmm.
deadline, like you have to make a deadline in such a way that you say in case like your exam falls in the next year of August next year, make a
Yes.
deadline at least 1 month before. Like if your deadline should be July next year only, that should include your revision also. So you
Mm-hmm.
had to do that, and like you had to make timetable. If you are sitting for a competitive exam, it's not easy. You have to make a timetable, read the difficult subjects, like whatever. See, something, if some one subject is difficult for me, it was biochem, pharmacology, that was difficult for me. But for others, it might not be difficult.
Yeah.
So it all depends on person. Yeah, student to
Yeah.
student.
Cater to your
So what?
needs. Yeah.
Yes. So if you find a particular difficult subject, I think it's better to read during whenever you are very active, like during the daytime, and read all
Mm-hmm.
the subjects which are, you can just read like a story, like forensic and preventive and social medicine, such subjects, the lighter subjects. You can read at the end of the day, but always make it a point that you read both difficult as well as the easier subjects. Every day, irrespective.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that, yeah, though a particular subject may be easy for you, but still you have to revise it. And the
Okay.
foremost thing is, some people are very monotonous. Like they read like MCQ and then they go back to the textbook and like MCQ, and then they read about that topic in textbook. But I think that is not advisable. You have to keep changing your study pattern. If you are reading MCQ, and then yeah, you can go back to your textbook and read that in detail, or you can either read a topic from the textbook and then solve those particular MCQs about it, or you can randomly pick up any word from the index at the back of your textbook and then start reading about that in detail. That is also more like
Oh.
interesting. So I feel
Okay.
like when it becomes very monotonous, it might you might lose interest in the subject. So this is
Okay.
what I feel, and this will help,
Okay.
like really help.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like
And
yes.
yeah, no, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
See, and revising and recalling also. So revising and recalling is something like many people don't do. They just keep studying, studying, studying without even knowing whether they remember what they have studied or not. So rather than doing 100 MCQs per day, you better do only some 20 to 30 MCQs, and then but you make it a point that you revise at the end of the day. You might feel that is very time consuming and all, but this is the only way you can remember it for a very long time, because many of the competitive exams is like after a period of 6 months or 1 year. Also many people
Mm-hmm.
study for almost a 1 year, so you can't remember like for 1 year. So this is the best way. I mean, revising is the best way to remember for a longer time.
Yeah, and what I learned from what you just said, to reiterate, what I learned was from my USMLE prep. What I do is, like, if I do some MCQs, and if I don't know the other MCQs as well, like one is correct, I try to think of why the second option is not the right answer, why the third option is not the right answer, because somewhere in our mind it might be 60-40% chance, and we're just trying it out and based on our luck we got it right. I try to see to third, fourth option. If it's why is
Correct.
it wrong? Like try to give a reason for it. I
Yes.
found that was a good trick for myself, but
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know
See,
others.
as I said, no, every people like some people might find this very easy and very easy for them, and like what do you know, um, it might help you. Like if you solve an MCQ and then some people will study by the textbook, some people just read the MCQs everything and then they go back to the textbook. Every people, every student differs. So I think you can just
Hmm.
if you're not you have to keep changing your study pattern, the way you are studying. I mean, that will
Hmm.
help you. At least that will
Hmm.
help you in knowing how which study pattern will is going to help you a lot. Keep
Yeah.
changing your study pattern.
Hmm. Try to, like, what would you
Yes,
say? Try to adapt to your situation.
yes,
Like the present
exactly,
situation,
exactly.
COVID is happening right now for the past year and a half. Our batch was one of the one of its deadly survivors. We had to do virtual. We didn't do properly on the patients and everything. But and our seniors, like our super seniors and our seniors, they've been preparing for the NEET exam since for like 2 years now, 1.5 year, 2 years. And I've talked to some of them. They're like so frustrated. They're out of their minds. They can't like they've been studying for 2 years. They don't see an end in sight. What would you tell them? Like, what would you tell them to focus on?
See, COVID has affected everybody, be it doctors, medicos, non-medicos, everybody it has affected. Everybody is like stressed out. For students who are appearing for exam and who are unable to what do you call have much practical lessons, or much classes during this COVID time. I mean, especially they are sitting in the online classes, but I don't think that is more useful. The personal face to face with more interaction,
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
that can never compare with the online classes. So I think, I mean,
Hmm.
everybody has been affected. I understand, but there's no other way. This is how now we don't have any other option as well. So
Hmm.
you had to deal with the stress. I would like to say, like, for the students who are about to appear for the competitive exam, this is what I say, like, don't think about anything much, just study. All these things will, pandemic will come and go, and whatever happens, if you're having time for your studies after your duty time, just sit and study.
Hmm.
Because and
Yeah.
and to deal with the stress, I feel ki, talk to your seniors who have already gone through these competitive exams. That will they will help you to guide, like, they'll guide you better. And start your preparations early, doesn't because it doesn't mean that you are working in a COVID ward. And I'm sure there are so many interns and junior residents who are working in the COVID ward, so they will be little bit exhausted compared to before, so they won't be having much time. Somehow make up yourself to study for your exams, because all this is your exams are never going to wait. Like, either
Yeah.
it might get postponed, but still you
Hmm.
had to write up the exam. You had to write the
Yeah.
exams. You had to crack the. You
Yeah.
had to sit in the exams, compete with everybody, and then you had to prepare for it. So
Yeah.
I think better start preparing yourself. Better start preparing yourself early, and talk to your seniors. And then I think whenever you're feeling stressed out, also you can, as I said, like, you can read a lighter topic. You can keep. Some people are good in drawing, so they can just draw the anatomy diagrams, as I said,
Hmm.
or you
Hmm.
can just read subjects like forensic and PSM as a storybook. But you keep reading
Yeah.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't
So don't get
yeah.
bogged down by the situations.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Don't get bogged down
Hmm.
by situation.
Hmm. And how has it affected you, ma'am? Like right now, you're a neurosurgery resident. Are you still seeing patients, or are you in the COVID wards as well, fighting
Uh,
this?
I have my COVID duties from next week onwards. But then I must say that as a surgeon, I feel I'm affected. The surgeons are affected the most, because the
Yeah.
hands-on skill is, yeah. Because when I was in first year, I worked as a first year, like, as an intern's work. I mean, everybody works as a like, as a, what do you call, as a first year. We don't get to do much in the OT
Yeah.
theaters.
Hmm.
We just manage the ICU patients, doing the ward rounds and all. And then when second year happened, the COVID came. So it
Yeah.
was, that year was the one I'm supposed to go to the elective OT and do something, learn something.
Uh-huh.
And then the COVID
Hmm.
came, and the all our elective OTs were cancelled. So it was like I
Oh.
was affected. My batch is affected the most. And
Hmm.
being a surgeon, I feel hands-on skill is something we had definitely learned. That, I mean, there's no way. So, but
Hmm.
then, I mean, whatever, like, I could learn, that is from the emergency OT. That has never stopped. As a
Hmm.
neurosurgeon, the trauma cases keep coming. So I think
Yeah.
elective, though I might not learn something in elective OT, but emergency cases keep coming. So I'm able to learn whatever I could do. I'm doing it in the emergency OTs.
Okay. Yeah. So, and what about how? I mean, are you still teaching? Are you still teaching interns in your college, or is it virtual for you guys as well? JIPMA.
I think the last time I took a class was 1 month back. I don't teach so
Oh.
often. It's just
Oh.
according
Okay.
to the roster whenever. Yeah. So
Hmm.
not much. I think the most of the undergraduate students have gone home now.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
we don't have classes right now.
Hmm. Okay. So, and right now, what would you say about I mean, in the COVID wards, I'm on night duty as of right now. I've been doing night duties for a week now. And a lot of, what would you say to the stresses of being an intern? Like, patients call me, so many people call me. They say, I'm this so and so, this kind of person, I'm this relative. And they try to talk to me about the patient. I try to do as much as I can. But at the end of the day, I've seen so many deaths. I have written death statements a lot. And what would you say about that anxiety, like being a first year and I'm doing all of this, right? What would you tell my fellow colleagues and everyone?
See,
What would you
I
tell
know
them?
you are very new to all this. As an intern, I understand what you're facing, because see, all throughout this so many years, whenever death happens, I know what does it like, how badly we feel about it. But as an intern, you're just new to everything, all this, and still you had to face so much. You had to face all the challenges. You had to see so much sufferings around. So I feel it is very difficult job for you, and I really appreciate the way people are like interns and junior residents are handling it without any complaints. And I must say that I appreciate, I admire everybody of you. But then, having
Thank you,
said
ma'am.
that, I would like to say that consider this as an opportunity. Intern, as when I was an intern, uh, to learn just a central line or a tracheostomy, I had to, butterfly all my seniors so much. I had to stay away
Oh,
back to my duty time and then learn all this. Because not every
okay.
intern will get chance, not in every college, intern will get chance to
Mm-hmm.
put a central line to do bedside procedures,
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
feel this is the best chance for you all to learn how to do an intubation, how to put a central line. See, anyways, you're working in a COVID ward. So I think you can
Mm-hmm.
just stay with your seniors, ask them how you can learn from them, ask them to teach
Yeah.
you everything. Consider this
Mm-hmm.
as an opportunity to learn things rather
Mm-hmm.
than feeling stressed out that you have to overwork and you don't have time to prepare yourself. So I feel you should consider every opportunity and consider this also to learn things and learn more, like the ICU management. You can learn about that. You can ventilator settings, the
Mm-hmm.
intubation, the central line. There's so many things you can learn in the COVID
Yes,
this
ma'am.
thing. Yes.
Yeah.
So you can do that.
Yeah.
Even you can learn
Mm-hmm.
about so much about antiviral drugs in the COVID ward. You can learn so much about it. Everything, every drug, anything you give it to the patient, you learn about it. You read up in the ward
Mm-hmm.
on itself. Why are you giving?
Yes,
How to
ma'am.
monitor patient? How to monitor everything. So I think this will help you in your life, whichever subject, whichever branch you take, it will surely help you.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. And speaking of antivirals and all that, now we have a new disease, black fungus, and it's like making so many rounds around it. What can you reiterate what is about? Like, can you to tell our viewers what it's about, and how we can prevent it and all that?
See, it's not that see, there was so much hype happening in the social media saying that black fungus is caused by the caused due to the steroids. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you
Yes, ma'am.
something. Black fungus. Actually, the first thing is I never knew the name black fungus. I never called it
Yeah.
mucormycosis as black
Yeah.
fungus. I see it on social media black fungus. Now people are calling yellow fungus, white fungus, all this
Yeah.
all this kind of colored
All the
fungus.
rainbow colors are making rounds right now. All the rainbow colors are coming out.
I never knew all these colors. So yes. So mucormycosis, no, it's caused in people who are already immunosuppressed. When you are already immunosuppressed, and then when you put them on uncontrolled sugars, that causes the
Mm-hmm.
mucormycosis.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not immunosuppressed, if your sugars are in control, I don't think people should fear from it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
yes, and this all this irrational use of steroids. Some people are just self-prescribing steroids at home without, because I feel most of the Indians are borderline diabetics who are getting controlled, who don't take anti-diabetic drugs, OHCs, and they just manage by lifestyle modifications. So they all are,
Mm-hmm.
most of them are borderline diabetics, and most of
Mm-hmm.
them don't even know that they are diabetics. And all these people have been taking steroids. They already, and due to COVID, they are immunosuppressed also. COVID is one of the reasons that causes immunosuppression. So
Mm-hmm.
being already COVID has caused the immunosuppression. Then they are taken steroids as well, and that too irrational. Some people are even
Mm-hmm.
taken steroids for months together, like for a whole one
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
You're
They're
never
just
supposed to be.
self-prescribing them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, steroids are never supposed to be given for such a long time. Even if it is being given, it has to be monitored. There's so many things, lab parameters that has to be monitored every day when you're giving steroids. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that is one of the reasons there's so much widespread of mucormycosis.
And
But
some
then,
people, I have seen some people in my own relatives, they use the same mask for the past 3-5 months. They've been using the same mask. They don't
exactly,
wash it. It's
yes,
so bad.
unhygienic. It's all unhygienic thing. We Indians already stay where, like, many poor people stay in unhygienic conditions. Then they take the steroids also. Then they have so
Mhm.
many immunosuppressive conditions, like I mean, comorbid conditions. then I think that is
Mhm.
one of the reason this has led to that epidemic within a pandemic. We call it, epidemic
Yeah.
of mucormycosis within a pandemic. So I
Hmm.
think that is the reason.
Yeah.
Steroids to be
Yeah.
given, but under in a hospital setting under a supervision of doctor.
Hmm. Yeah. So, note to all the viewers: don't self-prescribe your own stuff. Let a senior professional do it for you.
Yes, yes.
And let's go to based on this topic. Um, Hypothetically, a lot of I've read some studies and I've talked to some doctors as well. I stay in the US, so I have my dad has a lot of doctor friends, and they go into deep topics of like they're bogged down by all of the stress of work and everything. And if we give them a question like, would you go down the same path? Like there are some studies and recent studies have shown that if after 20 years a physician or a neurosurgeon or whatever, if you give them a question, would you still choose the same path, would you still become a surgeon, only 50% want to become it. Like other people want to go into a different profession, they don't want to go into doctor itself. That's like a lot of controversy around that, around mental health and all that. What about you? Would you still, I mean, you're still new, you're still young, and you're still going into it, but what would you think after? Do you love what you do? Is it
See,
what do you love what
even
you do?
yes. There was one point in my life, like even I had thought of joining the civil services administration as an IAS, because at that time I felt that a doctor can treat a patient, like patient's disease, but a civil
Mhm.
servant, if given a chance, he can make the healthcare accessible to all the patients,
Yeah,
and then thereby decreasing the challenges of a patient, as a particular individual.
yeah,
So that will help.
yeah.
Yeah, that is so much, useful, like in India as such. So I felt at that time I wanted to join the civil service administration. But at this point of time, I feel both the profession, stand equally good. And
Mm-hmm.
seen so much sufferings in my life for a patient, like right from my MBBS time, I've seen so much sufferings of patients, and the desire to live in spite of all that sufferings that happens, of this that all that thing, that has personally helped me also. I
Mm-hmm.
stopped complaining about things which I don't have in my life. It and this profession
Okay.
has also helped me, yes, and this profession has also helped me become more stronger. All the struggles I've been
Mm-hmm.
gone through to just crack
Mm-hmm.
up the competitive exams. This has made me more stronger in my life. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel at this point of time, I had no regrets being a doctor.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sorry about my video, ma'am. That's fine. Just the power went out. So, and okay. So, to let's go to the end of this topic. What advice would you give to the first year naive Dr. Supriya Chauhan? She just walked into the lab. She has a fresh apron on, her new stethoscope. She's full of life. She doesn't know what's ahead of her. So many sleepless nights and everything. Would you do anything different, or would you stay the same course? Would you make any changes to your life?
Yes, definitely I would have. Maybe I would have, like, expanded my horizon by using more of this interactive multimedia tools, those learning apps. Because my time we never had all these learning apps and all, all these
Yeah,
YouTube
yeah.
videos and all. My time I was not used to all this. So maybe I would have used all these interactive tools to help
Hmm.
my learning more interesting. Maybe. So I think
Hmm.
that is the only change I would have.
Yeah. For us, it's all like if we don't know anything, we just go into YouTube. What is this? And there's so
Exactly.
many Osmos videos or whatever it comes up, and it teaches us even better than teachers. Like I'm sorry to say this, but it's so good. We are actually lucky to have all of these resources.
Yes,
You guys had to. My teachers were telling me one day they had to go into the index, they had to go to the library, look it up, everything. What
exactly.
is that topic? They had to write it down. That's like a
We never
medieval
had
times
all
for
the
us.
we never had the smartphones also. I had my first smartphone, I think, in third year. We used to use
Oh.
those what do you call those Nokia phones, the small phones with that
Uh-huh.
keypad with just a
Uh-huh.
message. I mean, you can imagine our difficulty. So I think you
Uh-huh.
people are having more opportunities to learn, and it is
Hmm.
making your life more easy. So I think you should
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that's true. And ma'am, so what's in the future for you after neurosurgery in Jipmer? Where do you plan to go, or what's your future ambitions?
See, I had not much plans, but I think I would like to, since I had not done much, like my hands-on, like in during because of the COVID, unable to do much surgeries. So maybe I'll take up some fellowship somewhere so that
Mm-hmm.
I'll have more surgical skills. I think that should
Yeah.
that is my.
Well, so to conclude our session, we went over a lot of stuff. We went over how to keep a good mindset, use your resources properly, talk to your seniors, don't get bogged down and all that. What else? What is the ultimate advice to a fresh student or going to write the NEET exam? For me, the USMLE exam, FLAB exams, whatever it is. What's the ultimate tagline? What's the ultimate goal? Like, what's the ultimate tagline for them?
See, no matter what happens in your life, never you should always have the zeal to study harder in your life and study smarter than just studying harder. Study
Yeah.
smart, study hard.
Hmm. That's it. That's sound advice actually. Like working hard, don't mug everything up, don't be monotonous, and try to incorporate all kinds of resources into your study. Talk to your seniors. Let it all out. Let your creativity flow. Help yourself. So thank you, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity. I had fun. It was a good interaction on my half. For what I hope I was a good orator for you.
Sure, yes, yes,
And
definitely. Thank you, Krishna.
it was enlightening for me. So thank you, and thank you from my behalf of Team Superdocs. We're an organization. We try to give it into layman terms of to people non-medicals and medicals alike. Help them on your journey. We're just starting out, so you're our first patron. So thank you so much. Uh,
Thank you.
we
Thank you.
hope to have more interactive sessions with you in the future.
Sure, sure,
Thank
definitely.
you.
Thank you, Krishna.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.